Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, I'll show you how to knit a cozy sweater with a special eye catcher, step by step. Plus, I'll share expert tips to make your knitting projects easier and more professional. So let's get started. I'm using cashmere tweed from Pure Knit by Hafenbrattel, a yarn that stays soft and fluffy even after multiple washes. Stick around because I've got some great tricks that'll help you in future projects. For the rolled edge, I'm keeping it simple with a quick cast on. This time, I'm using the weaving cast on. A clean rolled edge isn't just about knitting a few extra rows in stockinette. It needs the right stitch size, the right number of rows, and a precise stopping point. Otherwise, it'll flatten out after a couple of washes. For long straight sections, I use the motor, makes life easier. I bind off the armhole decreases behind the gate pegs so they don't tighten up and affect the fit. For the rest of the armhole shaping, I use raglan decreases, grouping them in twos. That way I only have to decrease half as often. It saves time, and the raglan lines look clean and professional. For the neckline, I use short rows. This and the cutout neckline are my personal favorites. What's your go-to neckline style? Or is there one you'd like me to demonstrate in a future video? Let me know in the comments. To simplify things even further, I've extended the front neckline by 2 centimeters towards the back. This means I don't have to shape a back neckline. I mark the shoulder line 2 centimeters before the actual shoulder. This ensures I can easily locate the center of the shoulder when attaching the sleeves. Of course, I will also shorten the back piece by those same 2 centimeters. I also shape the shoulders with short rows and join them right sides facing, creating the cleanest, nearly invisible seam. Sock combs or transfer combs aren't just for socks. I use them whenever they make my work easier. Here, they save me from binding off with waste yarn. Oops, I forgot to put the edge needle back in knitting position. No worries. I secure the dropped stitch with the thread I used for my marker and will sew it down at the end. No one will ever notice. To correct my stitch count, I just add an increase. For the neckline, I knit the rolled edge directly onto the front and back pieces. This saves me from binding off with waste yarn, rehanging stitches, and reattaching parts. The only trade-off? I'll have 2 seams in the collar instead of 1, but honestly, I can live with that. To bind off the collar, I make long stitches and crochet them off. This keeps the bind-off stretchy, no worries about my head not fitting through. Except for the neckline, the back piece is knitted as a mirror image of the front piece. Additionally, I need to adjust for the shifted shoulder line. Mistakes happen. If I drop a stitch while transferring stitches, I just pick it back up and keep going. My tip for beginners: practice this on a swatch. Deliberately drop stitches and work on picking them back up. It's a great way to build confidence in fixing mistakes. For the shoulder seams, I transfer the stitches onto a garter bar. Later, I can hang them back on the machine right sides together for a seamless join, much quicker than binding off with waste yarn and rehanging everything. I also knit the rolled edge onto the back neckline to save time. I now rehang the shoulders of the back piece, which I previously transferred to the garter bar, onto the knitting machine. Next, I hang the shoulders of the front piece from the transfer combs, ensuring that the right sides are facing the back piece. After that, I join the shoulders using long stitches and then bind them off. By first knitting the seam at a regular stitch size, the long stitches will not stretch out over time. Before attaching the sleeves, I steam the edges of the armholes of the front and back piece slightly to flatten them out. I knit the sleeves top down directly onto the armhole. This creates a super clean join and saves me from sewing them in later. I distribute the armhole edge evenly on the needles, making sure the center mark lines up with the middle of the needle bed. The sleeve cap is shaped by increasing with short rows, using my custom formula for a smooth curve. On our e-learning platform, Easy Machine Knitting, we provide a detailed explanation of how this works. You will find all the information you need there. Oh man, forgot to reset my row counter. Now I have to count the rows manually to make sure my sleeve length is correct. For the sleeve decreases, I also group the raglan decreases in twos, like I did for the armhole decreases. This cuts the number of decrease steps in half. For the cuff, I use the same defined rolled edge as before. Oh no, the last few stitches slipped off the needles. Don't panic. Just take a deep breath, stay calm, and carefully bind off the rest. To prevent this issue, attach a claw weight at the end. If the second sleeve is worked as a mirror image of the first. Have you ever knitted sleeves top down? I think it's the cleanest way to do it. I washed the sweater on the wool cycle. This brings out the full fluffiness of our cashmere tweed yarn. For detergent, I use an olive wash for wool and silk. After washing, popped it in the dryer on warm air for 20 minutes. Some people swear by hand washing, others prefer the machine. What's your method? Let me know in the comments. Since I'm using a sewing machine, I washed the sweater first. If I were using mattress stitch, I could have sewn it together before washing. I lowered the presser foot pressure on my Bernina 570 from 70 to 30 to prevent stretching. For thread, I use Ceraflex, an elastic sewing thread. To assist with the transport, I carefully push my fabric using a tailor's awl or pointed tweezers. This also helps me align the fabric edges properly. I leave the rolled edges open and stitch them together by hand later. Machine-sewn seams would stop them from rolling naturally. How do you prefer to sew your knits? By machine or hand? Let me know in the comments. This sweater needs something extra. Why not add a knitted patch? I designed a logo in Design a Knit, transferred it to my brother KH-940, and got knitting. For the cast-on, I used the crochet cast-on since it looks just like the bind-off edge. As always, I knit the starting yarn tail right into the fabric. To keep my design from pulling or distorting, I secured the edges with an extra thread in the knitting direction. For binding off, I make long stitches. This technique is quick with practice and creates a stretchy, neat edge. I blocked the piece carefully to keep the edges as flat and even as possible. Clappers, some untreated hardwood blocks, help me hold everything in place while steaming. After blocking, I can trim all the loose ends without weaving them in, since I'll soon fuse everything together with Stretch Fix. Once it's fused, nothing will unravel. I cut the Stretch Fix to the right size and iron it onto the back of the patch. I take my time pressing firmly. My iron has no manual temperature settings. This works just fine. Now, I just have to position the patch and press it onto the sweater. I make sure the edges are perfectly straight. Once the heat sets it in place, there's no adjusting. To prevent the seams from stretching while sewing, I apply Avalon Fix. Then I can securely stitch the patch in place. If you're sewing by hand, you can skip the Stretch Fix and Avalon Fix steps. I close the rolled edges by hand because, as I mentioned before, machine-sewn seams would stop them from rolling naturally. I also give the side seams one last good press. Finishing is key for a perfect final look. People often underestimate how much a good steam finish can improve the result. Avalon Fix is water-soluble and would normally disappear in the wash. But since I want to show you the finished sweater right away, I simply brush the seams with a little water to dissolve it immediately. And that's it. The sweater is done. The result, a great piece that brings style to every season. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments which details you liked best. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share it with your fellow knitters, and subscribe to our channel for more creative knitting ideas. The pattern and the lessons for the necessary skills can be found in our e-learning platform, Easy Machine Knitting. See you next time.